welcome to episode 3 of Johanna's Raw Talks, the talk where we dialogue and don't cook up stories, but get to the raw truth. That's the whole point. And I'm your host, Professor Johanna Sophia, and today we're talking about electromagnetism or electromagnetic fields. And I have an expert who knows more than most because he's been on the inside of the beast, even though not officially, but being close enough to the inside of some of the beast that he knows a lot more than most. And that's Guy Vantresca. We've talked before, but not as specifically as I hope we're going to talk today. So Guy has been an Army officer and had a lot of high responsibility there, and then a defense contractor. And I was actually introduced to him years ago with the phrase, I had high clearance. So that told me something, that there is understanding of how electromagnetic weapons or energies are used in different contexts. So welcome to the podcast, Guy Vantresca.
Thank you. Thank you for the introduction. Nice to be here.
So, cutting straight to the topic, yes, what I just said you were involved with doesn't necessarily give us an impression of all the things you know, because I forgot to say you also a history buff and you have perfect memory. So it's photographic memory. And
I would say cognitive. It's just a cognitive memory. The way I study history, I integrate it with what I learned in the past, and I store a collective capsule. It's not photographic, it's more cognitive.
Got you. So does it include a level of total recall that's also called?
Oh, no, that's different. Because there's a technical definition for total recall, and that's mostly illegal. I think that's used in legal cases, like witnesses and crimes and things like that. No, I've been studying history seriously since 1963, since JFK's assassination. So I was old enough to know something horrible had happened, but too young to understand the implications. So I just knew, what is it about a civilization that would allow the assassination of its most popular leader and someone with promise and goals and intelligence, not just charisma, but someone who really knew what the country needed. And he was gunned down and replaced by a hack.
And the irony, I don't know whether you heard it, just as you were talking about the Kennedy assassination, there were fireworks going off, and they sound very much alike.
Like gunshots.
Yes.
Yeah. So anyway, that started me on the path.
That started you on the path to look behind the scenes.
Right.
So let's start with electromagnetism. What do we know, if anything, about very, very ancient cultures, way beyond what we consider today the Asian Euro development to the pinnacle, us whites, of the European continent? I laugh about that because I always found it so ridiculous that the Darwinistic view has this limited interpretation of history. So what do we know about these ancient cultures and how they may have produced and used energy, electromagnetic energy, maybe? What do we know?
Well, first, I do have to defend Darwin, because what he was describing was the evolutionary path of plants and animals. But he never really, he didn't have the knowledge or information to describe the evolution of the human species, of Homo sapiens sapiens. So in my study, it's pretty clear that we are not the products of evolution. that there was an intervention, and probably multiple interventions. But the main point is that we are more than a mass of flesh and bone.
Well,
We
yeah,
are, we're electromagnetic beings.
yes.
Our bodies resonate, we generate an electric current inside our body. So in other words, we, just like a CPU in a computer, the central processing unit, it has a power supply, so it creates energy from from raw electricity. We create energy from breathing, drinking water, and eating food. So our
Well,
biochemical
yeah.
process
Sorry,
creates. Oh, sorry.
I'm so terrible at always interrupting because I want to argue that, of course, all life forms have electromagnetic fields and have
Yes.
those qualities. And
Yes.
don't we have the extra that we can create things that do not exist in nature?
Right.
And therefore, we can be inventors and creators, but also destructors. That's not a word,
Right.
but yeah.
Right. Right. Well, yeah, we're Brahma and Shiva all rolled into one. The creator, the sustainer, and the destroyer.
Hmm. So
So
ancient cultures.
yes, yes. So let's see. Did they? Yeah, there is archaeological evidence, for example, that ancient Mesopotamia had electricity. They
Mhm.
found batteries in Baghdad. It's called the Baghdad Battery. So it was a device where there were copper coils wrapped around a certain stone, and it resonated. The Ark of the Covenant was an energy device. If you tried to grab it without protective clothing and gloves, you would get electrocuted. So clearly we, oh,
Explain to our audience where was that and at what time? Who created that?
who created the ark? There's actually a formula for it. You can create your own ark today. It's sandalwood and gold, and let me see. It's a mixture of 2 or 3 different types of wood and 2 types of metal. Oh, there's copper, gold, and silver. But it's all about layering and angles and sizes and dimensions. It's dimensional as well as so you can generate an electric. You can create electricity and you can generate an electronic field. There's 2 different things.
Hmm.
So we
So
have we have
does that tell us, does that tell
yeah
us that metals and also have their own electromagnetic field or emission
only
when meeting
o-
others?
only in combination with other elements.
Hmm.
Just like our bodies are a combination of blood, bone, sinew, tissue, but we also have this, as do plants and animals. Every living being has an electromagnetic field, and some fields vibrate very low and some vibrate much faster. So going back to what Einstein said, everything is energy. Even a piece of wood vibrates with a certain field, but that field is really, really low. That's why it's so hard. We're relatively soft because we're vibrating at a higher frequency. Now, ancient civilizations, how advanced were they in their electronics? It's hard to say because we don't have a proper historical record like we do of, let's say, ancient Egypt or ancient Babylon or Sumer. But we do have mythology. We have stories that are passed down from greater India, from Africa, from Mesopotamia, from China, from every culture, certainly Latin America, where there were devices and vehicles that would carry the deities in the sky and under the sea that can only be similar to our aircraft today, our jet aircraft and our submarines and our ships. So there's something to that. It's not just the fantasy of an imaginative writer, let's say.
Yeah, like the discovery of Troy turned out to be real.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And how about Göbekli Tepe?
Exactly. Mhm.
Yeah, that entire city in Turkey that is older than the Great Flood. Well, actually helps us date the Great Flood,
Mhm.
12,800 years ago.
So we then might come to the realization that electromagnetic fields and using those energy fields have been part of being human and humanity in various different forms and understood in various forms. And transmission without wires and transmission with those electromagnetic fields and microwaves. Do microwaves fall into that arena, by the way?
Absolutely. Sure. Because you're talking about the same thing. You're talking about transmitting fields of energy wirelessly. And you
Yes.
do that either through radio waves or through microwaves.
Right. And one could therefore interpret telepathy as microwaves emitted by our thoughts, by our sounds, by our voices and intentions. Is that going too far?
No. I believe in telepathy. How about your own intuition? If you have an intuitive thought about someone and they are on another continent and they have a similar thought about you, and then one of you calls the other one and say, "Hey, guess what? I was just thinking about you. Are you okay? Was there an accident?" And they go, "No, but I was also thinking about you." And how does that information move? It
Yeah.
moves at the speed of thought,
Yes.
not the speed of light or sound, the speed of thought. You can't
Have there
measure
been
it.
experiments that you are aware of? I know the Russians were heavily studying these
Yeah.
elements because I spoke to a former um, military um, person who was telling me about these studies in Russia. So what do you know about the research into thought energy and thought transmission?
Well, the Soviet Union, they invented remote viewing. And then remote
They didn't have
viewing
to
is
invent it though, because you were the
no,
one who told me that Rudolf Steiner, because he had these remote viewing abilities,
yeah.
was was contacted by the Nazis to work for them, right? And refused.
Well, they also destroyed him, but before they rose to power. But that's another story. Okay, let me rephrase. The Soviets didn't invent remote. Well, they did invent remote viewing, but all that is a method of codifying a
Hmm.
process, a natural human process that has always existed. So that's like intuition combined with telepathy, combined with some kind of farsight or foresight. All
If
they
you know
did
more
is,
if you know more details, can you explain how that works?
yeah. There's actually a very good remote viewer, a young woman named Elizabeth April. I highly recommend people follow her. She's fantastic. I've met her. She's really a gem. Um, and I've done remote viewing myself.
Mm-hmm.
So uh, uh, let's say there's a practical application for it. So if I want to know what a world leader is saying to his cabinet or his ministers in a meeting, I can go into a meditative state. I'll be given maybe a photograph of the building in the capital city, let's say the Kremlin in Moscow. And I can go put myself into the building, into the room, into the meeting, and I'll be hearing the conversations going on as if I was a ghost that had moved through the walls and was just hovering over the meeting table. If
The
you're,
so-called fly on the wall.
yes, that's what remote viewing is. And it can be used to find things like if there's an airplane crashes and the pilot's lost, you can find the pilot, you can find the aircraft. Our side famously used it to find nuclear bombs that were accidentally dropped in the ocean and had to be found right away so the other side didn't get there first. Remote viewers identified those things.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a potential application. Let's call remote viewing an application of the paranormal abilities of the human mind.
That, however, could possibly be measured as electromagnetic waves that move at thought speed?
I mean,
Or
you
is that
could.
because I feel that everything that is thought, emotion in the realm of this planet has a physical counterpoint, no? Or a mirror.
Yes. Let me see. I mean, I'm more concerned with the practical applications for these
Yeah,
theoretical ideas, because
yes.
what has happened is that let's look at how modern electronics evolved in the last century, let's say. So we had first we had telegraph systems in the 1850s, right? And then we had electrification starting in the turn of the last century. Then we had radio waves. Radios became commonplace by, let's say, the 20s. Then came radar, radar is microwave radiation used to detect objects either in the sky or under the sea. Then we got nuclear weapons, atomic bombs. um, and then the next the computer technology, real heavy electronic computer technology started, I guess, in the 60s and 70s with those Bell Lab mainframes that were the
Yeah,
size of a large building.
yeah. And
And
those cards you put in there, those paper
yes, punch cards,
punch cards, yes.
Right. And you know the story about how IBM provided the Third Reich with the punch card technology
Yes.
so they could count the people who were sent to the gas chambers and in the concentration camps and all that.
I think
Um,
you told me about that. I think
yeah,
that's how
yeah,
I know it, but I remember it very distinctly.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so so now we're at microwaves being used, of course, not just for cooking, because everybody has a microwave in their house, which they should not have.
That was a byproduct of the atomic weapons program. So, in order to sell atomic energy, so fission technology was used for weaponry, but then they wanted to use it for energy. But to sell the idea that a town didn't mind having a nuclear power station down the river, they created microwave ovens and pushed those. So if you have a little a mini nuclear reactor in your home, you shouldn't mind having an energy one down the river.
That I want to highlight that. So a microwave oven is really a miniature nuclear power plant. Explain a little more.
It's actually a mini nuclear weapon. So it's using fission as opposed to fusion. So fission is when you tear atoms apart. Fusion is when you mold them together. So in current R&D, research and development, they want to be able to create a fusion reactor, a fusion nuclear reactor, instead of a fission reactor. So a nuclear power station has giant fission reactors, but your microwave has a really tiny one. But nevertheless, the concept is the same. When you put food in the microwave, you're creating heat from the inside out. It's friction. You're
Yeah,
creating
yeah,
heat through friction. But it's not
yeah.
the convection heat from nature, which is from the outside in. It's nuclear fission from the inside out.
So when my people say, yeah, but look, I don't use it for cooking. I only use it for my coffee. I only have like 5 coffees a day.
That's
What does it,
laziness.
what does it do?
Well, when you're upsetting the atomic structure of food or water, and then you ingest it, your body is going to recognize the destabilizing effect of those atoms, and it's going to absorb it. So, you probably know this. Everyone has cancer all the time.
Yeah.
Cancer is not a disease. It is a process in the body that is natural.
Yeah.
So let's distinguish the cancer as a process versus cancer as a disease. The medical system only tells you about the disease. What they don't tell you is that every moment, every second in your body, cancer's going on. It's just cellular cooperation or cellular conflict. It's like a bully. If you're in a city neighborhood and there's one kid that's a bully and he gathers a bunch of other kids and he forms his own little gang, unless there's intervention to break up that gang and coach that bully to become a decent human being, he's going to become a gangster.
That's a cool interpretation. Yeah, the other interpretation I've recently heard from Dr. Tom Cowan is that it's just a place to put toxins the body isn't capable of discarding because, i.e. a tumor in this case, right? Because we have deprived the body of the energy to do that. So microwaves are nuclear
explosions,
not just nuclear power plants, but of course, nuclear power plants also use explosion, right, to create nuclear energy.
Yeah, sure. They create nuclear fission. They create fission reactions within a reactor that then create energy that provides the power for the turbine to spin, and the turbine creates the electricity.
Yeah. And how much of these electromagnetic microwaves does it take to kill? And how are there weapons that are electromagnetic that kill?
Okay, let's go back to the coffee, because I don't want, if any of your listeners are so lazy, because I'm going to give them a hard time. If they're so lazy that they say, oh, I only use it to heat the water for my tea or to heat my instant coffee. Well, first of all, you shouldn't be drinking instant coffee. But listen, I just described to you the destructive process of a nuclear fission reaction. If you can't get that you shouldn't be ingesting that stuff into your body, I can't help you.
Is it true then that how I always explain it is that the water molecule is altered, and that alteration continues in your body's tissues, which of course contain a vast amount of water. So that we're actually ingesting a chain reaction when we ingest something from the microwave. Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and your body absorbs that material because it recognizes it. It doesn't judge it. It doesn't say, ooh, bad form, out. It ingests it and accepts it. So, and that's when cellular damage occurs. So cancer, the disease, is merely cancer, the process, unchecked. It grows. That's why I made the analogy of a gangster or a bully.
Love it.
It's perfect analogy. And who uses that? Actually, I came up with it before Dr. Oz did, but then he published that very popular book where he used that exact same analogy.
Beautiful. So, how do microwave weapons kill?
Okay, let's go back. So I was describing how we moved from the telegraph to electrification to the radio to radar to nuclear weapons and nuclear energy, and then computer technology. And then we had telephone, old style telephone, what's called POTS, plain old telephone system. That's what they literally call it that. Really? So that's where the rotary telephone connected to a copper wire.
Yes, my teenage clients have no idea what that is.
Right. There's a great YouTube video where like a father who's probably, let's say 45, 50 years old, brings a rotary telephone to his two sons. He hands them a telephone number and says, dial this number. And they're staring at this box for about 20 minutes and they cannot figure out how to enter the number. So, but that's the way the telephone system worked.
Yeah.
And then something evolutionary happened in I'd say the 60s and 70s. And that is the electromagnetism in a computer that was used to crunch numbers and for word processing and for office automation married with telephone technology, because all of a sudden telephones could be digital, not just analog. So the old telephone system is analog. The new one is fully digital. So now, even though I still have an old school, it's not a rotary phone, it's a push button phone. It's not connected to the old copper wire that was installed in this building 100 years ago. It's connected to a computer system and it operates over the internet. So it's called Voice over Internet Protocol, or VoIP. And that's the way all landlines now function. So you may have a landline, but it's probably running over a computer network. Okay, so let's get back to the merger of telephony and computer technology, because that's when I was in the industry. So I was an Army officer from 75 to 83. And in 83, I joined the computer industry, what we called information technology. And that was the same year IBM introduced the first professional PC. Up until then, PCs were just gaming consoles, not serious technology. But in 83 is when computers started populating businesses worldwide. So I was there for 20 years and I saw this growth. And then I saw the merger. It wasn't just important that you could generate information on a computer, you had to transmit it somehow. And it wasn't simple files like a fax. You needed a way to take an entire file, and instead of mailing a hard disk, that's another old term. Remember the floppy disks? So they used to,
of course.
they used to be floppy disks, then they became hard disks, then they became giant gosh, I don't even know what they were called, but they were removable hard drives. Removable hard drives. But then finally, the telephone lines were advanced enough where you could transmit tons of data over a telephone line. So that's when you had the merger of telephony and data. And that probably occurred and that led to the internet being generally available starting in the early 90s.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's cut to the chase to weaponizing.
Okay. All right.
Having
Great.
an actual weapon that is electromagnetic, not a bullet.
Right. So, okay. During World War II and after, there were certain experiments. You've heard about the Philadelphia experiment.
No.
The Philadelphia experiment is when the Navy contacted Nikola Tesla, and they brought him to Philadelphia, and they said, we want you to make this ship disappear on radar. And he said, piece of cake. So he installed a bunch of electronic transmitters in the harbor, aimed them at the ship, and they saw the ship on the radar screen disappear. And then they looked, the ship was still physically there, but the ship disappeared from radar. And the Navy said, gee, thanks, Doc. Now can you make the ship disappear from the naked eye? And he said, no, because that'll kill the crew. Because I would have to turn the volume up so high on the transmitters that it would create an incoherent field and it might break up the ship. Or if it doesn't, if the ship stays intact, the crew could be literally burst apart. And he walked
Wow, I
away.
did not know that. And I mean, of course, I love Nikola Tesla and his findings. I did not know this experiment. Oh, please explain why that was not continued, because we
I'm
still
giving you
use radar.
Yeah, I'm giving you the short.
things.
I'm giving you the short version. So the Navy said, "Okay, that's all right. You can go back." and then 6 months later, he was dead in his hotel room in the Hotel New Yorker.
That's
I'm
how
not.
they,
I'm not saying there was a connection to him refusing.
of course not.
Right. So they found the right physicist who was willing to turn that volume up, and that was John von Neumann. And the ship disappeared completely, not just from
Was
radar,
it
but
a paperclip guy or before?
this is before paperclip. This was
Okay.
during the war. And the ship turned up in Montauk, Long Island. And that's where the Montauk Project comes from. So you have
Yes.
the Montauk Project grew out of the Philadelphia experiment. And after the war, a lot of the paperclip stuff went all over the place. It went to Montauk, it went to Plum Island, the Nazi scientist who invented Lyme
Yeah.
disease or ticks. He invented weaponized ticks that then led to Lyme disease. And then all the rocket scientists that went to NASA.
Oh, what is the matter with your sound? It suddenly blows up. Is that on
Oh,
my end? It's weird.
you mean the volume or the?
Volume sometimes grows really loud and then it goes back to normal.
Oh,
And you're
maybe because I'm getting excited. I'm getting too close to the microphone.
maybe that. Um,
I'll
but
lean
I
back.
want you to explain, please. Explain, please, how that how the microwaves dissipate life forms.
Okay, I'll get to that. So at Montauk, the Navy continued experimenting with microwave radiation.
Mhm,
And they had an antenna on top of a bunker, and they aimed it at the local townspeople in Ditch. I think it was Ditch Plains, the town near Montauk, or maybe it was Montauk itself.
mhm.
We have a thunderstorm outside right now. Um,
Yeah, coming here
so
too.
yeah. So, and what they did is they were able to modulate human behavior by turning up the frequencies or turning them down. So remember, there was already mind control experiments using LSD, waterboarding, various times of physical torture or physical manipulation through drugs, through psychedelics, and through torture. But what they accidentally discovered is that you can control human behavior electromagnetically through microwave radiation. So you don't need the LSD, you don't need the waterboarding. That's like really messy. So what they did is they discovered that the townspeople would be going about their day, and all of a sudden, these microwave fields would come in from the radar antenna, and they would start punching each other and hitting each other, super aggressive. It's like friends would be walking down the street and they start fighting, and the observers would call back to the base and say, okay, they're fighting each other. And then somebody would turn the dial down and everyone would become passive, completely passive. Like, oh my God, did I just hit you? I'm so sorry. Let me help you up off the ground. And that's when they knew they had something.
And where have they used this?
Phew.
Just give us a few examples, 3 examples.
Well, you've heard about Havana syndrome?
Yes, that's sound. I thought that was sound waves.
No, those are microwaves.
Oh, but they produce sound in the brain, in the ear, in the
Oh
ear.
yeah, like the tinnitus, the ear ringing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what it does is it makes you sick. You can use microwave frequencies to elevate someone's response, to depress it, to turn them super aggressive or super passive, and to affect their immune system so that they'll get sick. That I'd say the Havana syndrome is probably the most well-known example of this. But starting I think it was the 80s, the Army created a field called electronic warfare.
Mm-hmm.
So EW. Now, on the surface, electronic warfare would be using radar and other systems to detect enemy positions. So you want to know where their submarines are, where their aircraft are, where if there's movement in a wilderness, like a tank
Yeah.
division moving up. But then they discovered that if they operated in a different frequency field, so here's where I'm going to connect it to 5G and 6G. The frequency range of the 5G network and the 6G network is the same field as the directed energy weapons of electronic warfare. So while the telecoms companies are using that frequency field to transmit its zeros and ones, all your important texts and messages and videos and TikTok videos and all that crap, that same frequency range could be used to transmit behavioral frequencies so that you'll sit mesmerized in front of your screen. It's an addiction weapon, is what it is. And we're
And
already...
How do you get it to kill, though? I just wanted to get to that. The ultimate weapon, of course, a weapon is always to kill, right? I mean, that's why we call it a weapon.
David Cronenberg made a movie called Videodrome where they illustrated that. So they use microwave radiation to explode someone's head.
And that's real?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I haven't heard story. It's obviously it's a movie, but there is a basis for it. Yeah.
But it has not been used in warfare because, of course, we shoot and bomb and explode hundreds of thousands of humans with other types of weapons, and we have not used that weapon.
Yeah. Oh, well, I think the only reason is not because of moral grounds. It's just that the military industrial complex makes so much money with conventional weapons. If you told them, well, all you need is this radar system with an antenna, and it's equal to 20 jet fighters, they're going to go, well, where are we going to get our hundreds of millions of dollars of profits?
Yes, that's a perfect explanation. Thank you. I think we had discussed this before, but I had come across this story of a gentleman guarding the microwave transmitter on top of a building in Manhattan, and there always had to sit. Somebody always had to sit there 24/7. And one night, it was a particularly cold night, the replacement came up to the top floor or to the roof and said to himself, "Oh, you had fried chicken," or said out loud to the guy. And then he noticed the guy was dead. He had fried himself in front of the transmitter. Is that real?
It's possible because in the Navy, the transmitters are so powerful that you're not allowed to walk in front of them when they're turned on.
Right.
Because you will get fried.
Right.
And there are plenty of stories in the Navy where sailors accidentally walked right in front of a transmitter, not knowing it was on, and just dropped dead.
Yeah.
Because, okay, now here we get to your question. How powerful are these frequencies compared to the human body? The electronic field in your body is measured in hertz, not megahertz, not gigahertz, hertz. And the average is 7.83.
Oops, that's tiny.
Tiny. It actually is a range between 3 hertz and about 12 hertz, but it's still very tiny. I mean, it's like this compared to that. You heard that?
No,
there was a thunder. Just as soon as I said that, there was a thunderclap and a lightning bolt.
You know what? That's what it is with your sound. Your sound adjusts to other sound coming in and lowers everything to eliminate that. That's what it is. Okay.
I mean,
okay
literally,
now.
It was as if the universe was listening to the conversation and they said, "Oh, guy's right."
That's right.
Or they were sending a warning like, "Shut up, stop talking about this stuff."
So have these electromagnetic disturbances of the fields led to wildfires, earthquakes,
Yeah, sure. Okay,
and
now you're talking about geoengineering.
mhm.
So as these computer-based technologies increased, you have things like HARP, High Altitude Array Project, which was based in Alaska. Now I think the Air Force moved it up into space.
HARP, it was called, right?
HARP, yeah. I mean,
HAARP.
the guy who talks best about this is, you probably know him, Dane Wigington.
No, don't know,
Oh,
but
okay.
good to know.
Okay.
Mhm.
He's out. He has his website is geoengineering.org.
I may have
.org.
heard him on Jimmy Dore or somewhere, I think.
Yeah. He's been on Jimmy. He's been Dane Wigington or Whittington.
Yeah. No, I'm thinking I've seen him.
And he has a really good movie called The Dimming. The Dimming. And it's all
Yes.
about
Yeah. Mhm.
how a highly advanced military microwave radiation and radio technology can be used to manipulate the weather, manipulate earthquakes, create fires. Um, I mean, it's if you think of the atmosphere is highly charged. Like right now, there's an electric storm going on. It's raining, it's thundering, and it's lightning here in New York. The entire atmosphere is charged. You can measure that charge. And we already know that cloud seeding goes back to the 1920s when airplanes would drop salt in a cloud to force it to rain.
Yeah, I think many people perceive that kind of weather manipulation as minerals, sulfur and aluminum being put into the atmosphere to create that. But you're now talking about electromagnetic waves that also or
Yes.
better have that effect, or in combination. How does that work?
Yeah. So it's like the difference between energy. In a sense, when you're doing cloud seeding, you're adding minerals to a physical body. The cloud is a physical body. It would be like you drinking salted water to put electrolytes in your system. Instead of doing that, the electronic warfare devices use waves, frequencies and waves to accomplish the same thing. So you don't need the physical mineral being flown in an airplane and dumped. You can have the radars either on the land or up in a satellite causing the same effect. And actually a greater effect.
Go ahead. Yeah. So these 6 earthquakes on one day all around the rim of the Pacific Ocean that we just experienced recently.
Yeah.
Nature at its best, or?
My personal opinion is these are natural tendencies of the earth through its various convulsions that are being acknowledged by human intervention and then either amplified or reduced. So it's not that the geoengineering can produce a tornado from nothing or a hurricane from nothing. There's already the warmth or the spiral. They're just whipping it into a frenzy. So it becomes very destructive.
So all of it is more amplification of what's available than creation out of nothing. Of course, there is never nothing. There's always something.
There's always something, because there's always there's an inherent energy in everything. So you're manipulating the energy and you're increasing it or decreasing it. Now, okay, I'm putting myself in the audience. So they're listening to this crazy guy talking about this stuff. How does it affect me? What's it to me? That would be a typical New York response.
I want my coffee out of the microwave.
Yeah. So I guess what it means to you is It's time for you. Okay, let's say you're a health conscious person. You're aware that you have to filter your water because you know there's too many chemicals in it. You know that you need clean air to breathe because there's so much pollution. You know that there's chemical manipulation of agriculture to produce so much food to feed the world. But there's a byproduct of that. You're poisoning your body. So when you're eating food that's grown in the earth, that's loaded with petrochemicals, fertilizers, fungicides, pesticides, herbicides, all that, you're now aware that there's an accumulative effect in your body and it's going to mess you up as you age. Okay, now let's take the next logical step. Start to become aware of the invisible there's a great book by Arthur Furstenberg called The Invisible Rainbow.
Yes, beautiful book.
Incredible book. He just died last year or 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I had the privilege of speaking to him for a few hours once on the phone. He describes very well how all of these frequencies and radiation affect your body and the body of everything that's alive. So what can you do to mitigate it? You can't stop it. So
I'm laughing because when that book is mentioned, I always have to think of these stories of people being excited and actually going to travel and pay for the exposure to an electric shock as something super exciting. In the, I guess in the 1800s, right? They would travel to have an electric shock put upon them, and they thought this was like the illumination or something.
Because I think those things were linked to the evangelist movement or some kind of Pentecostal religious thing.
I don't remember that part. I just remember the fact that people would travel far and wide to experience the enlightenment from an electric shock.
Oh, like a lightning bolt? Or
No, these machines that were created with relatively low electricity, and people would. That's in the description of the book, and it starts with that. You know, the
I forgot about that. Yes.
The excitement of electricity and experiencing that electricity shock.
Yeah, because it makes you high.
Unaware of the danger.
Yeah. So what Arthur did in that book is he drew a direct correlation, a direct causation. No, he started with a correlation that every time there was an outbreak of the flu or some kind of infectious disease, it was preceded by a new advancement in electronic development, electricity or electronic.
Yeah.
And his argument's pretty persuasive. So what do you do? What do you do about it? Do you want to go to that phase next?
Yeah, I want to go straight to, because I'm trying to contain these podcasts not to go too long. I want to go into, so humans have seem to have accessed these powers or these fields to use as powers to elevate their cultures, but also to destroy their cultures. How much in your historical research have you come across self-destruction of societies using some of these energies? And are we at that point again?
Oh, yes. So, so we have to, in order to talk about this, I'll give a caveat or a warning. We're moving beyond official recorded history. So that only goes back roughly 7,000 years. But there is a history of what are called pre-Diluvian civilizations before the Great Flood. And these are mostly in mythologies of ancient cultures, where they describe highly advanced civilizations that had cities, that had irrigation, that had electricity, that had flight. You know, they also perhaps were able to levitate objects to build something like the pyramids, because the pyramids are much, much, much older than the Egyptian civilization. And there were probably a variation of human beings on the planet at that time, let's say 25,000 years ago, that were more advanced than we were. But they made a choice to pursue technology over spiritual growth. Now, when you ignore your spiritual growth, let's say you stop meditating, you stop praying, you stop your devotional practices, you notice you become more focused on let's say profit-seeking endeavors, either making money or becoming more advanced. It's about achievement.
Right.
You want
I call that when you focus on what you have instead of who you are.
Yes, that's very good. Yes. Because once you have stuff, you want more stuff. You just want to accumulate stuff. And then if someone stops you and says, "What are you doing? Who are you? Why are you here? What's your purpose?" It's like, don't bother with these. Don't bother me with these questions. I'm too busy scoring my next deal. I think this civilization became so enamored of their technological skills that they forgot who they were and what their purpose is. In other words, they were pursuing being gods, forgetting that they were already divine.
Sounds like the West, doesn't it?
Yes. The World Economic Forum.
Yes.
Not just them, but the whole globalist movement. The whole globalist movement, and I write about this in my Substack, is concerned with technological advancement to the detriment of human advancement or human integration or human enlightenment. For them, the sum total of human achievement is stuff. So I think that there is mythological evidence of old civilizations that did that, and they ended up destroying themselves. Atlantis would be the most popular version of that. So yeah, I think that if Atlantis existed and they went off the rails because they probably had not just nuclear weapons, but probably lasers and other things that could be really destructive.
I had one report, in fact, it was read to us in a class in school by this teacher who was interested just because she was so interested in that material, where a medium described that in Atlantis they stored energy, energy excreted from or taken from seeds, because of course every seed contains the energy of the entire plant, right? So that was the idea, was to extract that growth energy in a seed and have that stored in large silos, and these silos exploded. So it was a fascinating thought to me that holds true to today as a possibility. Fireworks. So again, extracting energy from what is in nature around us, but concentrating it to an extent that makes it unbearable for the planet to hold. And I mean, of course, the same could be said for nuclear energy, right? It's really not an energy form the planet can bear.
Yes. I mean, the activity of the sun is a giant fusion reactor. Yes. So there are natural fission and fusion reactions in nature, but they are contained. They're manifested in balance with the rest of creation. So what we're doing is we're taking one aspect of energy and we're manipulating it. We're separating it from the rest of nature. So we're upsetting balance, and we're creating a weapon or a device that is not a part of the system. It's become separated from the system.
we're extracting, right?
Yes.
For some reason, I have the thought right now, just like we're extracting vitamins or extracting things from things and then think that can fix the problem. And I don't necessarily think it can, because the context in which it is alive and absorbable in our body, for example, or defensible by our body, if we're talking energy fields, then is broken. The entire context is broken.
Yes. Look at petroleum. We've been extracting petroleum from the earth for what, 150 years?
Mm-hmm.
And then at first using it just for energy, and then saying, oh, guess what? Oh, we can use it to synthesize chemicals and use them for agriculture. Oh, now we can make medicines for pharmaceuticals. Oh, now we can make soaps and lotions and shampoos. Oh, and now we can make plastics. And then it just goes on and on and on. And before you know it, petroleum is literally in everything. It's in your clothing, it's in your house, your furniture, your car, your food, and now it's in your water.
I just had a beautiful discussion with podcast number 2 with Dr. Anna Maria Clement about plastic clothes and the impact on our health, clothing ourselves in plastic, basically.
Yeah. So we've created, from petroleum, we've synthesized 1 million compounds from petroleum.
And to lead that back to what's the electromagnetic field of every petroleum product, of every plastic? What does it emit?
Oh, I wouldn't draw a direct connection. It's more like my previous discussion about hard stuff versus soft stuff. So petroleum is very dense, very thick, and all of the petroleum byproducts that we're using are physically tangible: clothing, food, plastics. But electromagnetic fields are invisible, and we're just not aware.
But don't these plastics in particular interfere with the natural electromagnetic fields around us? I mean, we know that the static, for example, on a plastic clothes or on a plastic something, is you can create sparks. You can create
right, but that's not going to destroy, or rather degrade the energy field inside your body on a permanent basis. See, right now, the cell phone towers in our cities and suburbs, they're nonstop. They're broadcasting continuously. If you have a Wi-Fi router in your home and all your internet connections are wireless through that router, that thing's on all the time. That's like having a cell phone tower inside your home. That's how powerful that little box is.
Yes.
So at a minimum, I would make 2 recommendations. When you go to bed, unplug the Wi-Fi router, unplug it, like no power to it at all. And
I have a tenant who's on it.
I said at a minimum. You can't control your neighbors. You can only control yourself. And then put your phone in airplane mode and put it away from your bed.
Yeah.
All right. That's at a minimum.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are more things you can do, which are in my EMF health guide.
Yes, you have these devices that people can wear, right? And to increase our own shield, so to speak.
Well, you're not shielding, because that would create a Faraday cage. If you were trying to block a damaging radiation from penetrating your body, you'd have to live in a Faraday cage. That completely seals, and you can't do that. It's not practical. No. So instead, I recommend devices which enhance your own natural energy field so that the damaging frequencies won't penetrate, or create an energy field around you that is conducive to life. So there's something called biocompatibility. Yeah. So what these devices do is they radiate the frequencies of the earth.
Yeah.
And so when your body is given a choice between honey or vinegar, it'll choose the honey. But if the honey's not there and there's only the vinegar, it's going to take it. So think of the cell phone towers and the Wi-Fi router as acid. and you have no choice. But if you had a set of frequencies that are conducive to your body, that are biocompatible to you, your body will choose those.
Yeah. And what drives me mad is that I am of the firm conviction that all of our technology and all of our materials could be produced at an Earth compatible level, or with Earth compatible materials that would vibrate and enhance the frequencies that are positive.
Yeah. So, for
life.
example, replacing petroleum-based compounds with hemp and bamboo and other plants that grow. I mean, they reproduce like rabbits.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
And I
yeah.
mean, that's a whole other conversation that
Right.
probably you and I both have done a lot of research into. But so microwaves can be and are being weaponized, and therefore are to be considered a danger in our lives that we should keep as controlled as possible if we then need them. Is that the best we can do, kind of?
Yes. That sums it up. You can't stop it. Apart from having an incredibly destructive revolution against all the power centers that exist, which that act in itself would probably end civilization. So, just like you follow certain rules in order to get along in polite society, like wearing your seatbelt and stopping at a red light, there are certain things you do, but you do it with thoughts of consequence. So yeah, protect your energy field. Unfortunately, you have to spend money to buy these devices. So on the one hand, you're paying a telecoms company for a mobile phone that will kill you.
Yes.
And then you got to buy another device that'll protect you from getting damaged from the other device. So you're just spending money all over the place.
Yes.
I get it.
And we didn't get to that. Of course, some of these devices recently, was it in Lebanon or was it in Yemen, were actually turned into weapons and exploded on people?
That was Hezbollah in Lebanon was targeted by Israel, the pagers. So
yes,
Israel created this elaborate, it took 10 years to get the whole thing going. They started an electronics company that made pagers. They weaponized the pagers with explosives. Then they created this business connection so that Hezbollah would buy the pagers by the thousands and hand them out to all their people. And I mean, it literally took 10 years from start to finish. And then one day they pushed the button and I don't know how many members of Hezbollah were killed. But that's different. Those were exploding pagers.
Okay. So this cannot be done with our regular phones. They cannot remotely be turned into devices that
not explosive devices, because there's too much stuff. There's so many microchips in here. There's 6 different antennas. There's all the microchips. There's the battery. There's the cameras. There's the recording device. No, you couldn't. But what you could do is, I mean, this thing is more powerful than all the computers used to send Apollo 11 to the moon in 1969.
let's not get into that one, but quiet.
Did we go to the moon?
The thing is, however, there have been iPhones. There was one set of iPhones that exploded, and that's why on airplanes, they still or they still won't ship your phones.
They overheated. Yeah, they overheated. That can happen. Yes, but that's more of a mistake of circuitry.
Right, but that cannot be created remotely, that they overheat.
I don't
I'm
think.
just going to wild ideas.
Let's put on our diabolical hats for a minute. It's not cost effective to physically create damage using a hot or exploding phone. It's more effective to use the microwave radiation to manipulate your thoughts.
Yeah, good. I mean, not good, but at least this thing will not explode in my face. And if I'm aware of the microwave barrage, there's much I can do to retain my sanity.
Yeah.
So microwaves and weaponry and the world we live in, we didn't get to the graphene oxide and the nanoparticles, but that would explode this podcast. I thank you so much, Guy Vantresca. Let us know where people can find you.
Mm-hmm. I will in the notes to this episode, you can put my Substack, which I sent to you. And I also included the websites of the companies that I recommend for the devices.
Yeah, and what is the name of your Substack?
It's just my name, Guy Vantresca. You could click on the link that's going to be attached to this episode, or just go on to Substack and search my name.
Yep, great. And then there's also a piece that you had written about protection, right?
Yeah. It's an EMF health guide. It's not up there yet. It's going to be up there in a few days. It depends when you publish this episode, when this goes live. But I will have that. It's called EMF Health Guide, and it will be the latest article in my Substack.
Cool. So everybody, equip yourselves with the protection, act accordingly to all the information that you just learned, and spread the news that we are in charge of this planet. And the more we know, the more we can avoid or counteract or exclude ourselves, refuse ourselves to the powers that be that may want to do the mind manipulation. We didn't go deep into it, but that has been going on for the last almost 100 years now, right? That with
More, yeah.
Using these waves, however. Of course, mind manipulation has been going on forever when there were empires, but using
even think of advertising. The modern advertising industry is maybe 70 or 80 years old. They manipulate your thoughts all the time, but they do it through images.
Yeah.
This is different. This
is biophysically impacting your brain. Yes. Not just visually or information contamination.
Right.
Great. So thank you so much. And see you again. I know we have so much more to talk about. It's always awesome. Love it. All right. Bye for now.
See you at Jane's.
Okay.
All right. Take care.
You too.
You're going to stop it or?